There. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we highlight 2 to 3 interesting tech stories in the news, get you a fun library fact, send you on your way in 15 to 20 minutes. As always, if you have stories that you'd like us to highlight, Creation Station at Broward.org. It comes directly to me, and we'll get you on there. And today I have Victoria from the Sunrise Branch. How are you doing, Miss Victoria?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks very much for being here. How are things out there at Sunrise?
They're good. We're moving right along. We're getting ready to ramp up our tail trail, which I'll tell you more about.
Yeah, you got to tell us that
Yeah,
afterwards. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. We have some interesting stories today. I'm going to throw up the browser right away so that we can get into this. We have some stories that were recommended by customers. Again, somebody wanted me to follow up on something, and then somebody else suggested this here for killer asteroids coming to hit us. Just like the movies, Victoria.
Yeah, I confess I know nothing about space. It's never been a subject I've been that interested in, so you'll have to school me on this one.
So, in Armageddon,
Yes.
okay, so in there, they go land 2 shuttles on this big asteroid and they blow it all up. Well, that's not what this is. It's kind of close. Um, so NASA, it's called the DART program, and they are going to land. It's the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART. And what the idea here is we're taking a satellite. We are launching it out there. It's not going to launch till next year. I'm sorry. It's going to hit next year. I apologize. It's going to smash into the satellite. The satellite's going to smash into the asteroid.
Mhm.
There's another satellite. We're tracking this. We're going to be able to see how much that asteroid moves after the impact, because it's a very precise 2 asteroids orbiting around each other. So no, it's not Bruce Willis blowing up things to save the day, but this is actually the first time we're going to try and see what we can do to push an asteroid out of the way of hitting Earth. Luckily, this one's not going to hit us at all anyway, so that's a really good sign.
Mhm.
But so that was one of the ones that our listeners had asked us to fulfill on. And then somebody had wanted to follow up. We had talked a couple of weeks ago about a Russian satellite that got blown up.
Okay.
And it caused all sorts of problems for the space station. And sure enough, earlier this week, they had to stop a spacewalk because of some of the debris and stuff from 2 weeks ago. So the reason I wanted to follow up with this was because not only one, following up on the story is kind of cool, but number two, the next follow up to this story is yes, the spacewalk went off today without a hitch. And they fixed the
Okay.
antennas on the space station and did it.
Okay. I have a question about the asteroids.
Ask away.
Uh, if that dart is successful, will that be a new thing that we start doing all the time?
It'll be the first time we've ever been able to see if it would work.
Okay.
And if we smash into it, it's probably only going to move it by a couple of
Mm,
millimeters in its
mm,
orbit. But this is going to be moving. I mean, it's a small piece of metal when it when it smashes into that rock, but it's going at 55,000 miles an hour or a minute. It's moving at a really hefty amount of
okay.
speed. And so it's going to shift the orbit just that little bit so that we can see that, yes, what we thought was going to happen did happen, and then build up with the program from there. Um,
Mm.
there's a T-shirt out there that the dinosaurs didn't have an asteroid program. Maybe we should get one. Uh, so yeah,
I'm sold.
um, yeah. I'd like to live a little bit longer and not have one of these here
Yeah.
happen.
Hmm.
Yeah. An asteroid hitting takes out a big chunk of even small asteroids take out a big chunk of a populated space.
Wow.
So let's find something more happy to talk about. So
Yes,
this was
please.
one
Oh,
that
yes.
Victoria brought me this one earlier, and it's ABBA. And I know everybody out there's like, Bob, how in the heck are you gonna talk about ABBA on a tech show? Well, guess
Good
what?
question.
Yeah. So let me show you some of these pictures. So it turns out that ABBA as a group has been recording and has been getting everything together, and they have got an amazing, they're not holograms.
Yeah, they were very clear about
They're
that.
very clear about that whole idea.
I
These
think
are
they're
not
called
holograms.
avatars.
Yeah, they're avatars. I'm not going with the cheesy avatar thing, but
Okay, be a hater,
um,
Bob.
what do you think about this?
Actually, I think this is really interesting. I'm not sure that I would pay for a concert that was avatars instead of the actual people. But I had two thoughts about this. One is that I recently went to, I'm sure you've been, I'm sure lots of people listening have been, who went to the immersive Van Gogh exhibit down in Miami. I don't know if you had a chance to go.
I did not go, but
Um,
yeah, we did something
oh,
similar here actually. Yeah.
okay, yes. And from reading this article, it kind of makes it sound like that's what this is going to be. It says
With
they have their
live
own,
music. Yeah, it's a live
exactly. They
band.
have
All the musicians
their
are
own
live. Yeah.
venue. Yeah, it's their own venue, their own. So it's not like, the AAA arena is going to have holographic ABBA.
Yeah.
But the other thought I had about this was that I do find this an interesting concept in terms of sustainability, because I wonder if this took off, if more artists would choose to do something like this than to travel around and waste. I don't know if you heard about Coldplay, who recently said that they're going to
Uh,
have their
yep.
stages powered, yeah, by movement. So I wonder if something like this would take off in that arena.
Well, I think that one of the things that interested me so much about reading, because I was like, oh, wait, now let's take this jump and say, huh, John Lennon, let's put you in concert. We
Mm,
have lots of footage. We can recreate that avatar, fully
hmm
three-dimensional, moving, fully reacting avatar there. And now we can have John Lennon in concert. Now, he's probably too big of a name to go get it without permission. But
hmm
we've talked on this show in the past about, do you need permission to do these? It's a deep fake of that
mm,
person.
hmm
And where are our limits? Where do you want to go from nostalgia to lack of new things, I guess?
hmm hmm
It's that whole it's very much, and you're a movie person.
hmm
It's very much that idea of, why do we keep remaking movies instead of coming up with a new creative way to do it?
Completely.
Will this stop us from getting new artists? Because, oh, well, we've already got a stable of 15, 100 different artists that we can put out on the road and send out anywhere you want.
hmm
Yeah. What do
It
you
does, I
think?
will say, yeah. In fairness, I think this, well, based on this article and the photos that we showed, it looks like they physically had to do motion capture. So I think
They
that
did.
for what they're planning, maybe the person does have to actually be alive. But I know what you mean with I mean, who knows what technology is capable of actually. Let me
Oh,
stop myself right
I'll
there.
tell you, I know it. I'm saying, yeah, no, they'll
Yeah,
be able to
yeah,
pull this off without motion capture suits. If
yeah,
not,
I
if they
believe
can't
that.
already, they can make it happen. It's just a question of expense.
Yeah.
The one great line in here, was, the magic of the cyberspace circus coming to town,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a fully transportable. They compared it to, having an example of an IKEA box. It's all
Yes.
flat packed. So
hmm
this is just going to be something that, I mean, obviously tractor trailers that you ship somewhere, you set it up anywhere, and now you've got your concert venue all enclosed and everything. And I'm like, yeah. And then you put on
hmm
your VR headset, and now you're in the arena with them, and I can do that from my living room. And okay, yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm not so bad with this right now. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't, I don't think I would pay for this type of concert.
I don't know, would you?
I
Would
don't,
you
I really don't
pay
think I would.
would you pay to stream your movie at home versus going out to the movie theater for it?
Why, yes, I would.
That's
Hmm.
I did for Dune. I was happy with Dune.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm actually upset that I did that with Dune, and I went to see it in the theater afterward, but we can
That's
talk
good.
about that later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tell me about that. Because that's
Well,
exactly what our
so
next stories is all about. It's the whole
yes.
idea is what's happening with movie releases
Hmm.
and how this all ties in together with stuff. So
Yes.
you fill us in on this. You're the movie buff much more than I am. I'm more interested in the
Okay.
technical and the complaint about why I can't watch my Marlins games. But you fill me in first on streaming.
Okay, so these two next stories that we have deal with platform release, which used to mean just when they were released in theatrical, and then paid video on demand, either DVD, things like that. And then we have, adding to that, the streaming wars. So it all kind of combines in this one. I actually just saw a story that I'll bring up that relates to this, but it's this one big question of if we've completely lost going to the movies as a form, or if the companies that make the movies now are even going to go down that road. Um, and I think particularly we can highlight the paid video on demand versus streaming, because it's tied into the platform release. But basically, the platform release used to be, when a movie came out in the theaters, it wouldn't be on DVD for about a year. Then it was narrowed down, narrowed down. Eventually, that became 90 days. And during the pandemic, it became no days, right? So they would have things simultaneously premiere on streaming services like HBO Max. Um, at the same time they would premiere in the theaters. So now, this article that we have here, which was, I think, actually came out last
Yeah,
year,
this is at the
when
this
things,
is yep,
yeah,
last
when
year
things were
as
a
the
little bit
pandemic was
worse.
really raging for
Yeah.
everybody. Yep.
Yes. And it's an interesting question because a lot of the streamers are very secretive with how successful their movies are. We just have to take their word for it. And paid video on demand is a way for us to actually know how successful movies are. But more than that, I think it's a question of, in particular, whether theaters are going to start getting into the technology, of like owning their own streaming platform so that they can compete with the streaming services.
So
So
Margate Cinema
that's
subscribes to HBO Max and throws up the video on the screen and
wow. Hmm.
uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, it's a little bit
Or
fancier than that, but I mean, but and that's what
yeah.
makes this a tech story is because it's a very different way of taking the technology of movies, of the art of movies, I guess is a better way of saying it,
Hmm.
of how do you craft a release to get people interested. That's these articles will be in our links like they are every week. Don't worry about it. And it talks about, a little bit about the art of how do you do a release to build up interest in your film
Exactly.
versus just the big huge tentpole type movie as they call them that
Hmm.
gets all this acclaim. I was surprised Jaws was the first one. I didn't know that after reading these articles that Jaws was the very first big
Yeah,
blockbuster like that.
that does not surprise me at all. But yeah, I had a I just feel like I used to think I was completely a person because I love going to the movies. That's my favorite thing to do. And I used to think that would be it. That would be my only decision. But now I actually find myself coming around to watching movies at home only because sometimes that's the only choice we have now. And I think that's what this whole, video on demand or streaming kind of debacle has led to, because if they don't do well in the movies, then they just go straight to watching them at home, even if you wanted to watch them in the movies. And then they've got Marvel movies or blockbusters in the theaters like for a whole year, basically, or even re-showing old movies instead of seeing new ones. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the whole video on demand, like you said, I think part of the thing becomes the old studios, the you know
Mhm.
the sports leagues haven't quite adjusted yet to the idea that, you know, as I was teasing about, I can't watch the Marlins games right now because I don't have cable.
Mm,
I
mhm.
could, if I pay for cable, I can then pay for a Fox Sports, which is now Bally Sports subscription to watch, but I'm not allowed to pay for the Bally Sports subscription unless I already have cable. And I'm like, this is
Mm-hmm.
stupid. And plus, you're only
Yes.
going to let me watch half the games because I can't watch the ones that are at home. And it's just,
Yes, and you bring up a really good point, which I said I would get to my rant
tell
about
me.
how streaming has now become gatekeeping. And it's working in a library as a librarian, trying to help people, especially because I am the go-to movie person here. When I'm trying to help patrons find a movie, it's really devastating when I have to tell them that the movie they're looking for isn't even going to be released ever on DVD. And I think that's the difference that would make me side. I know people don't want to pay necessarily for watching them at home, but I think if distributors put them on DVD, then at least people would have the option of coming
Yeah.
into the library and checking them out on DVD. But a lot of the movies that go through Amazon or HBO or Netflix, I think, is the worst culprit. They never make it to DVD. So you can only watch them if you subscribe to those services. And a lot of people don't have the money for that. So I think taking them right now, it's easy for me to say I'd rather watch them at home because I don't like going out too much right now.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes that's just what works better with my schedule. But I think if we kept them in the movie theaters and kept the traditional release like they used to have, more people would get the chance to see them across many different fields rather than just the same streaming services.
Well, we got one last quick story to hit on our way out here. If this might get people to do it, is having AI automatically generate movie trailers. And again, thank you, Victoria, for because when Victoria was going to be on the show and she's like, I want to talk about movies. And I'm like, do we have any technology movie things? And I started looking and I'm like, holy cow, I've got all now my feed's going to be filled with all these things.
Hmm.
They fed some movies into an AI and it made its own trailers. Um, it's really fun. If you get a chance, you'll get a chance to go see these of how this kind of stuff works. And yeah, it's an interesting little bit, huh?
Yeah, my note for when I read this article was, I wonder if this will lead to spoiler-free trailers again, because I think
Yes.
a lot of trailers now have way too many spoilers. I would love to see what a AI generated one comes up with.
Yeah, would it understand what's a spoiler and what's a not? I'm guessing it
Interesting
eventually they
question.
will, but right now maybe we'll get away with it.
Yeah, I hope
And
so.
our cool library thing for everybody from Miss Victoria here, because she's on her rant about this. Here,
Yes.
come to the Broward Library website, broward.org/library/emedia, or you can just go to the library page and click on it and it'll take you directly to here. You can get all your books, music, everybody doing their Spotify thing right now on social media. No, we've got it for free for you people. You don't have to pay for it.
Mhm.
I think that one of the best lines that I saw about this whole mess was Spotify convinced people that it's cool to let us spy on you
Oh, wow. Good point.
because
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. They're just taking every single second that you've lived on there and letting you
Yeah.
share it with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Canopy and Hoopla, tell us about it, Victoria.
Okay, you guys, this is very important. Hoopla and Canopy are two streaming services that we subscribe to where you can borrow movies and stream them right there. Canopy, I know you can do on your smart TV. Hoopla has some contractual issues with certain brands, so you might have to double check. I can't get that one on my television, but I can get it on my computer. But Canopy, I think, is probably good to go on most smart TVs. And they've got thousands of movies on there. And Canopy, I will say, is my preferred option out of these two, just because they tend to have the Criterion Collection films. They've got most of the indie releases, a lot of stuff you never think would be on a streaming service that the library offers. It's there.
Yeah. No, it's got some amazing stuff, and it is very much something for the movie person. I mean, if you
Yes.
are someone who is into movies, that the
Yes.
art and craft of movies, and not just the big blockbuster, Marvel
Hmm.
thing, but there's an amazing amount of
Yes.
stuff in there. I mean, I
Absolutely.
am not a movie theater person at all. I mean, I have seen like 3 movies in a theater in the
I still
last
can't believe that.
15 years, maybe. Where the Wild Things Are, and the was the last like serious movie that I went to go see in the theater.
I'm pretty sure that was 2012.
Yeah, probably. I'm I'm much happier with making my own popcorn.
I mean, that I'm starting to
You
come
come on
around to
over,
that
Victor. I'll,
idea.
I'll make you the big 15
Okay.
pound bag of popcorn if you want. Come on over
Okay.
and we'll share.
Okay. That sounds good.
Tell us about what's going on out there at Sunrise.
Okay, so the one thing I really want to highlight, because this is something that we work really hard on, if anyone who's watching this happened to come by last year during the COVID shutdown, they might have seen the tail trail outside. You can see some of the remnants back here. Um, but this is a picture book that we take apart and we put it on these big signs and we put it all along the pond that we have in our front yard over here at Sunrise Dan Pearl. And we include prompts. There's an activity packet that you can take home for your kids to work on. And last year, I hope that we do this again this year, but I have to work all of the pieces out. But last year we also did, if you return your survey, there would be a raffle entry for a prize relating to the book, for a prize pack. So yeah, I'm working right now, if you can see behind me, on making the first book of this season, and we're hoping to go from December through April this year. We don't do it during hurricane season because there's too much to worry about
Yeah.
with, the signs and everything. But it's
What's
really
the first
fun.
book?
The first book, oh, I should have had it closer to me, is going to be a stack of alpacas. It's very colorful. Yes, it's like a
Ooh,
bright purple book. Yeah.
nice. That's a fun
Yes.
one.
Yes. So
Very
I'm excited
cool.
about that. Yeah. As soon as I get it, it's going to be up, I think, probably by next week. So you guys can come on
Oh, that'll be
down.
an excellent thing then. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you guys have the chalk for Artlit.
We only have one pack left. So if anybody wants that,
Oh, you got to get out there, folks.
yes, we
All
have a lot of
libraries have
books
them.
here.
And oh, by the way, Victoria, send Kimberly an email. She might have some extras for you.
I was thinking that.
Um,
Okay. Thank you.
but but yeah, some branches are running out because this is a really fun project for everybody. I mean, just like this, to go tell your stories and go do your things and use the chalk stuff for our upcoming
Yes.
thing in January here. It's only 3 weeks, 4 weeks away now. So
Yes.
we just flew through that whole time there, Miss
I know.
Victoria. Thank you so much for being here for this.
Of
Let me throw up our
course.
final slide here.
Thank you.
As always, if you want to see your favorite librarian or library featured on the show, Creation Station at Broward.org. We'll get y'all in. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next week. Stay safe.